Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Monday. It's the 12th of May in 2025, and today is day 584. Greetings from Montreat in North Carolina, where Churches for Middle East Peace managers. We're having 5 days of meetings, prayer, strategy, planning, working. I hope a little bit of retreating. We would covet your prayers as the managers are gathered here for a few days as a team. For some of our managers, this is the first time they've ever met in person, face to face. So please be in prayer for us and for the conversations and planning that's happening this week. Monday tends to be a big day for news in the Middle East, and today is no exception. In Gaza, hospital patients are surviving on only a meal a day, with poor nutrition and medicine shortages slowing down the recovery of those who've been burned or injured by airstrikes. This is according to medics and the medical coordinator for Gaza and the occupied West Bank with Doctors Without Borders. Israeli strikes overnight into Saturday. So this was over the weekend. 23 Palestinians were killed in the territory. I don't have death tolls for the last day or so. Here's the big news. The last living U.S. hostage was released today. This is Adon Alexander. I've been talking about him a lot. You might recall when I was in the Middle East that I found out a little bit more about the first round of negotiations between Hamas and the U.S. This, again, was on direct talks where, in large part, Israelis were excluded from the conversation. Adon Alexander is 21 years old. He's a dual Israeli-American national. He was abducted while serving in the Israeli military on October 7th. And Hamas said that they're releasing Alexander as a step toward a lasting ceasefire with Israel. They had direct conversations with the Trump administration. They handed Alexander to the International Committee of the Red Cross in Gaza on Monday evening local time. The 21-year-old soldier was transferred to the Israeli military and then flown to a facility in South Israel for medical tests and to reunite with his mother and other family members. The IDF later released footage of images of Alexander tearfully embracing some of his relatives. Alexander's transfer to Israel came less than 24 hours after Hamas said yesterday, on Sunday, that they would release him unconditionally as a part of efforts to revive ceasefire talks. And President Trump wrote on Truth Social yesterday, this was a step taken in good faith towards the U.S. and the efforts of the mediators, Qatar and Egypt, to put an end to this very brutal war and return all living hostages and remains to their loved ones. Hopefully, this is the first of those final steps necessary to end this brutal conflict. This is a game changer. And part of what was discussed, our understanding between the U.S. and Hamas, was the resumption of aid, humanitarian aid, and an end to the ongoing violence that's causing such horrific devastation and ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Netanyahu did meet with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff of the U.S. and also the U.S. Ambassador Huckabee in Jerusalem Monday afternoon to discuss the latest efforts to achieve a larger hostage deal. Netanyahu also thanked Trump in a phone call for helping to secure Alexander's release. And the prime minister made clear that negotiations will only take place under fire. President Trump is soon headed to the Middle East for his first international trip of his second term. That'll happen this week. He'll be stopping in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. The U.S. and Israel's plan to funnel humanitarian aids into parts of Gaza will initially only feed about 60%. We've been talking about that and some of its inadequacies. I read that it's a U.S.-only plan, but U.S. Ambassador to Israel Huckabee talked about it on Friday and underlined the role that the United States is playing, stating that the proposal is Trump's initiative. Recent disagreements on Gaza and Iran strategies are straining the relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, with Israel worried by the U.S. refusal to support military strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities and attempts to reach a nuclear deal with Tehran. Some reports have indicated that Israel has said they will attack Iran even without the support of the United States, or that at least that's being considered. In other news in the Middle East, the Trump administration plans to accept a Boeing 747-8 plane as a donation from the Qatari royal family, with a view of upgrading the plane to serve as Air Force One and donating it to the President Trump Presidential Library once he leaves office. In a social media post, Trump suggested that Democrats are losers for questioning the ethics of the move, which would amount to one of the biggest foreign gifts ever received by a U.S. government. Qatar said that this is a possible transfer and that it remains under review. So no final decision has yet been made. I wanted to call your attention to a letter that went out today from the Commanders for Israeli Security. This is a group that represents more than 550 members, all former senior officers in the IDF, Mossad, Shin Bet, Foreign Service, National Security Council. These are Israelis. They said, we appeal to you. This is a letter to President Trump. We appeal to you to use your visit to the region to bring all our hostages back, end the war, and end the death and suffering of innocents, to launch a Hamas-free morning after for the Strip and pave the way for new regional security, a coalition that includes Israel. The letter essentially pledges unmitigated support for President Trump in his efforts to bring an end to the Gaza war. And it also says this is so important because these are senior members, retired, of the Israeli security establishment. Indeed, the Gaza war no longer serves Israel's national objectives. With every passing day, it undermines that which had been accomplished by our successors and their brave troops. More important, as you've correctly noted, it risks the lives of our hostages. If continued, the war, as well as the aggressive annexation policy of the West Bank, challenges regional stability. It might force peace partners, Abraham Accord signatories included, to distance themselves from your historic achievement. It threatens to ignite a broader conflagration, undermining allies and U.S. interests, and it certainly dooms prospects for Saudi normalization and Israel's integration into a powerful regional coalition to check Iran's meddling. Given your longstanding objective of ending wars, your unmatched popularity among Israelis, and your proven care for hostages, we look to you with the hope that your visit marks a turning point. Again, that was the Commanders for Israeli Security to President Trump. Iran and the U.S. have agreed to further negotiations following the latest round of talks about a nuclear program. Tehran described it as difficult but useful. The Trump administration said the talks were encouraging, but no date has yet been set. And the Iran-U.S. nuclear talks are, quote, not genuine, end quote, from the U.S. side, and were likely designed to, quote, trap to draw the situation towards tension, end quote. An Iranian official said that to CNN before the conclusion of the latest round of talks. A U.S. official said that Trump is completely sincere in his desire to reach a deal. Just a little bit of international news that's relevant. The Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, which is located in northern Iraq, parts of Turkey, they said that they will lay down their arms and disband. This is after waging a bloody insurgency against the Turkish state for 4 decades that's claimed more than 40,000 lives. In its statement, the group echoed the sentiment expressed by its imprisoned leader, Abdullah Öcalan, in February, stating that the Kurdish issue can now be solved by democratic policies. In his first Sunday blessing, Pope Leo XIV yesterday called for an authentic, just, and lasting peace in Ukraine, as well as a ceasefire, release of hostages, and provision of humanitarian aid. He also welcomed with satisfaction the announcement of a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. And the ICC, the International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan, has been accused of discouraging a woman from reporting his alleged sexual assault by telling her to think about the Palestinian arrest warrants. Israel is expected to try to overturn the arrest warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant, the former defense minister, by referring to allegations that Khan announced his intention to apply for the warrants 3 weeks after he heard the allegations of coerced sexual intercourse. Please be sure to take a look at CMEP's Prayers for Peace blog. The most recent one is written by our board member, Peter Macari, about the work of the UCC, the United Church of Christ, and the Disciples of Christ. You can find our blog on our CMEP website under Educate and then Resources. And Peter closed his blog with this. As we celebrated the hope of Christ's resurrection, we could not look past the depth of pain of Holy Week, but we were encouraged to continue in our efforts to seek peace and justice. As the Reverend Dr. Munther Itzhak preached in his Easter Amidst Genocide reflection last year, and reprinted in our book, Rooted in Faith and Justice, Christian Calls to Conscience and Cries for Peace in Palestine, he said this: the cross is God's solidarity with humanity in its pain and its suffering. And God's solidarity must become our solidarity. The followers of Jesus risk all to speak truth to power. We must act, mobilize, pressure, lobby, and hold powers and leaders accountable. As people of the resurrection, we must unsettle the empire. Today, the land of resurrection calls you to act in hope and love. Together, we are committed to end this genocide. Together, we are committed to work for truth and justice. We know we will prevail because Al-Masih, Christ is risen. Amen.